A young student sits in an early years classroom, looking closely at how a small plant sprout responds to the sun. It is their very first encounter with the idea of sustainability. Fast forward 2 years. That same student sits in a different classroom, learning about sustainability again. However, the questions remain the same, requiring no new depth of thought or independence. Instructional designers call this accidental duplication. It occurs when a school treats its curriculum as a static checklist of topics to be ticked off, rather than a pathway for cognitive growth. This diagram illustrates the problem. Solving it requires shifting away from simple coverage audits toward curricular coherence, where the cognitive demand of a topic deliberately increases every time a student revisits it. Engineering that upward spiral requires educators to design learning using two interconnected tools, operating at different scales: the macro-level curriculum map and the micro-level storyboard. Without a system to bridge multi-year architectural goals with daily classroom actions, education often devolves into a sequence of disconnected, arbitrary events. We start at the highest altitude with the curriculum map. This macro-level view answers a specific long-term question: where are learners going across months or years? Pioneers like Heidi Hayes Jacobs and Ronald Hardin argued that these maps must capture the operational curriculum, a multi-dimensional record of what teachers actually teach, as opposed to only what official documents prescribe. This matrix shows how the primary years program uses a program of inquiry as a whole school map. Scanning a horizontal row verifies students experience varied disciplines within a year. Tracing a vertical column ensures concepts like sustainability become increasingly complex as students mature. This high-level map provides the structural framework for a student's long-term intellectual journey. However, it is too broad to dictate the moment-to-moment reality of the classroom floor. To bridge that gap, educators descend from the macro map using Grant Wiggins and Jay McTeague's backward design framework. This step translates broad, multi-year concepts into a specific unit planner. The unit planner isolates the exact understandings the teacher wants to achieve and defines the evidence required to demonstrate that the learning has occurred. Then we zoom all the way down to the learning experience level, level 4, the storyboard. This is the temporal micromap. Instead of asking about months or years, it asks, what will learners experience next? This flowchart maps a single sequence of instruction. It moves from an initial prompt to learner action, routes through feedback, and culminates in assessment. Because inquiry-based environments value agency, this storyboard functions as a map of possible pathways, branching out to accommodate students' decisions. Storyboarding acts as the critical translation mechanism. It takes the abstract architecture of the school and turns it into a tangible, intentionally designed sequence of human experiences. Maps represent our intentions, and storyboards are our anticipated journeys. But the final reality of education is the enacted curriculum, what actually happens when teachers and students interact. We verify this reality through student evidence. We look at the questions they ask, the connections they make, and the work they produce. When teaching teams compare this evidence against their original plans, the curriculum map becomes a living design object, constantly updated based on the results in the classroom. This cycle of verification and revision anchors a process of ongoing professional collaboration. Teachers use the evidence from the classroom floor to inform and adjust the macro-level architecture. By mastering these distinct scales of design, a school can move past the administrative task of checking off topics and begin focusing on the measurable growth of its students.